I love dancing to that sound. Okay. Hello and welcome to
Hmm.
Magical Witchy World TV. I am Star Ravenhawk.
And I am Rhonda Allen. Welcome back, everyone, to this week's show.
Yeah. So now on with the show. All right. Tonight, we are proud to welcome Jezibell Anat to the Magical Witchy World TV.
You?
Yay!
Yay!
Hey.
Welcome, Jezebel.
Yay!
We're excited. I feel like we are putting we had one last week, the other half this
Yeah,
week. So
that's kind of how we
welcome
do it a
back. So
lot.
from Joe to Jezebel, and this is fabulous. But let's introduce you to
Okay.
everyone. I will go through your
Mm,
bio right now. So in Manhattan, Jezebel and her partner Joseph Zuchowski founded the tradition of Thelemic Wicca,
mhm,
taught the pagan way grove at enchantments,
mhm,
and led Kiklos ton Asterion coven
mhm,
and Siren's sanctuary open women's circle.
mhm.
Now in Augusta, she facilitates monthly pagan vespers and the goddess group at the Unitarian Universalist Church. Her poetry and articles have appeared in such diverse publications as Nomad's Choir, Our Pagan Times, the Beltane Papers, Circle Magazine, Bennu, in anthologies published by Goddess Inc. She is an actor and belly dancer and often combines dance with poetry, theater, and percussion. She has performed pagan and goddess dance for the Witches' Ball Theater for the New York Pagan Pride, Gathering of the Tribes, Avalon, and Augusta Pagan Pride. So welcome, Jezebel, to Magical Witchy
Yay!
Thank
World TV.
you.
Yay! Yay! So we are so glad to have you here tonight with us, and we've been looking forward to this conversation with you. Okay, so one of the first questions we always ask people is because we kind of, over the years, we see that many of us refer to ourselves by many different names.
Mhm,
And some of us, as a matter of fact, we change as we evolve into different things, whether it's we calling ourselves pagan, Wiccan, witch, whatever it is. So, and then we
Mhm.
evolve into something that we call ourselves and we're like, okay, this is it for us, kind of a thing.
mhm.
So, what was the arc for you, and what do you call yourself now?
Mainly down here, I will say Wiccan or pagan, because a lot of people, New York, you could be a lot more specific. Down here, I have people asking me things like, are Wiccans pagan? And there's also the thing with the
Okay.
term witch is as a magical worker. Again, there's a lot of hoodoo workers who are witches who are very Christian and they'll do divination on Bible verses and things like that. So, witch is a magical path, not necessarily a spiritual path. And there are traditions
Mhm.
of Jewish and Islamic witches and people who would not consider themselves pagan but who are witches. So, I find usually pagan for some, again, for some people, it depends on who I'm talking to. Pagan is what they will probably get the most. And when I first started
Mhm.
doing work at the UU church, I would also use the term earth centered because it took a
Mm.
while to be able to say pagan openly.
Mm,
And
Mhm.
it's just been an arc. And now there's some people that will say the word witch now. 10 years ago, nobody would say the word witch in public.
mm.
So
Wow,
it a
that's
lot
fabulous,
depends on
though.
who I'm talking to.
Right,
If
right.
if they know
Yeah.
what it is, I will say Thelemic Wiccan. If but some people,
Mhm.
if I have to do a whole long explanation, it just Wiccan. It's a form of paganism, and sometimes just for the short version, that will suffice.
Okay, all right.
Excellent. That's
That
fair,
Mhm.
and
that makes sense.
that's
Yeah. So
v
you
yeah.
being the narrative basically based on where you are.
A lot where
Whereas
I
in New
am, who
York,
I'm
you just kind
talking
of said,
to.
"I'm this," and that was
Yeah,
it. End of discussion in New York. Because
yeah, and
you're
I
right.
don't.
In New
Yeah.
York, you're more open to things.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't hide it, but I also don't need to make a big deal of it. Yes, I'll wear my pentagram out there. I have never gotten harassed by it, but I know of people who have. There's a lot more people in the broom closet here. And it's the sort of thing
Mhm.
that, no, they might not get fired from their job, but they could be made uncomfortable.
Right, right.
And
Mhm.
Joe and I work a
Mhm.
lot with the UU Church because, and especially in a conservative area, it's a liberal community. They're pro women's rights, pro choice, pro LGBTQ, pro BLM. So, on overall issues, it's good to work with them. And I've also done a lot of educating, and sometimes with certain people
Mhm.
taking what I call more of a soft approach, where I might say earth centered at first or nature girl or something like that. And then as they
Mhm.
get to know me, I can start using words like pagan and Wiccan, and they'll understand more about it. Whereas if I came in, really strong with like rah rah pagan, it might put them
Yeah.
off. So sometimes there's
Yeah. Yeah.
educating to do, that a softer approach can be more effective. And someone at
Right,
UU
right.
said, "Oh, you guys
No,
aren't weird
that's
anymore." So,
right. And
Okay.
that's the biggest piece about I shouldn't say biggest piece, but part of why this entire
mhm,
show exists. We're trying to just
a
dispel
lot of
some
the
of
myth.
this,
Yeah.
yes. We want get people,
We want
we
people to
want
be
people to be
comfortable and to
comfortable.
be able to be
Yes.
comfortable being who they are
Hmm.
without judgment,
Yeah.
and also
Yes.
educating the mundanes or the regular world of people
Mm.
that there are many aspects to it, and it's a matter of what the person's
Mhm.
comfortable with calling themselves at the time.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
all good. All
Hmm.
right.
So, on that theme of the work, how you call yourself, what brought you to this world? What brought this or opened this world up to
And
you?
ironically, it was a Wonder Woman comic.
Oh,
Because
fabulous.
again, I had come out of, as many of us raised Christian, the idea is God is up there on the white cloud, and he's,
Yes. Mhm.
disposing of human beings from the white cloud. So I open this Wonder Woman comic, and there's
Mhm.
Aphrodite on the white cloud. And it's like, whoa, what is this? There's a female on the white cloud, and then she's talking about what she's going to do to people. It's like, oh, I like this. So
Yes.
started doing research, and Greek mythology is very easy to find information on, and it's
Mhm.
also one that
Mhm.
in certain contexts you can pretend to be a mythology buff or a history buff. And if you're reading Greek mythology, people think you're just, trying to educate yourself. They don't necessarily know that you might be pagan. And then, of course, from there I moved on, especially with Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Celtic, Norse, but
Mm.
mainly my first interest was the divine feminine, and the
Oh,
idea that the one up there on the white cloud could
yeah.
be female, that women could be powerful, the role of the priestess. And in
Yes.
fairness, Judaism and a lot of the Protestant versions of Christianity have become, over the last half of the 20th century and now into the 21st, a lot more accepting of female ministers, rabbis, etc. But at one point, all clergy
Yes.
was male. So finding
Wow.
that
Yes.
source of power
Yes.
and that source of religious power, as well as the multiplicity of role models within the goddess pantheon. And that's something that I tell people with, and Joe might have said this last week, I might be repeating, but with a monotheistic worldview, it's like this omniscient, omnipotent God. So
Mhm.
how can things be messed up? Because if this God knows everything and has all this power,
Yeah.
whereas in a pagan situation where it's the God with certain aspects and sometimes the deities clash. So
Mhm.
that's part of the reason for a lot of the chaos. And if you read a lot of, say, some of the ancient Sumerian texts, there's a case where the priestess is in mourning and so is the goddess, because, the other god came in and kicked their butt. So that makes more sense to me
Yeah.
with, why do bad things happen? Why are things not right? Why
Right.
is there all this chaos in the
Mm.
world? Because if it's one being and they have all this power, why don't they go ahead and fix it?
Yeah, yeah, which makes sense.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
question things,
Yeah.
you question
Mhm.
things. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a great segue to ask from your point of view, what does it mean to be that person, all of the who you are,
Hmm.
or
It's
if you're calling yourself Wiccan or witch, what does it
mhm.
mean to you?
I think it's just part of it is my connection with the past, and being very
Mm.
respectful of how we got here. And I know for some people who've had difficulties with their family, it may not be the immediate family, but that connection with the
Mhm.
whole thread of humanity, because we go back far enough, everybody is pagan, and how we've
Yes.
gotten here. And for me, it's also as an artist, dancer, writer, it infuses a lot of my creative work.
Right.
So I feel like that
Mhm.
sense
Mhm.
of, even if it's not necessarily goddess per se, it's going for the
Mhm.
powerful female characters
Right.
and bringing a fullness of theology into the work, where it's not just this
Mhm.
very disconnected head center, but grounding in the body, grounding in movement, grounding in chant, grounding in song, grounding in poetic expression, where that becomes a holistic connection.
Right. Right.
Mm. Beautiful.
Mhm.
Beautiful. So it sounds as well, you're involved with
Mhm.
many things, and we already know your involvement with the
Mhm.
UU Church, etc. How are you incorporating all of these practices in your day-to-day living?
Mm,
How do you practice or celebrate your
Again,
spirituality right
it's
now?
very seasonal. One advantage here is that the weather is a lot warmer. I'm outside a lot more.
Yeah.
Ended up,
Yeah. Yeah.
one of my friends was doing a full moon circle and we went kayaking afterwards. So we're out in the kayak on a
Beautiful.
river, which is something I was never able to do in New York because it's like night and the moon is up there and we're just going through and just seeing a
Mm.
different perspective of nature. I'm near a swamp, so we can
Yeah.
go and experience the swamp, experience different things. I'm not good at gardening, but I have wildflowers and I have bees and
Yes.
butterflies in my yard.
Beautiful.
And just it's a deeper connection to nature here. And within a lot of my writing and a lot of
Mm.
my work. And we did Pagan Pride here a few
Mhm.
years. Dealing with national now, they have certain rules and requirements that we really didn't want to deal with. So we started another event that we're calling Pagan Fest.
Beautiful.
And that was a combination educational and creative event. We had a lot of vendors and I organized the performances. So we had belly dancing and fire spinning and music. And I feel like the arts are also another way to reach people because they may be moved by a dance or a song or see something in that. Like one
Mm-hmm.
of
Yes.
the songs I
Yes.
dance to is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Hymn to Her by the Pretenders, which
Mhm.
I believe that was 80s.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
goddess song
Yeah.
that was a pop song and not everybody knew what it was. So I actually danced to that with three veils, and some people
Ah,
get it on different levels.
Right.
yeah.
Mhm. Well, that's a great segue for me to ask you, you know, about what you consider is important to you, and it sounds like the arts is important to you.
The
So maybe
arts.
maybe you want to embellish on a bit more about that, or
Mm.
something else that's more important to you.
Yeah, I mean, the arts are as expression, and also artists communities tend to be a
Mm.
lot more liberal. And that is something that both Joe and I never thought we were that liberal, but the country has gone so far right that
Mhm.
suddenly we're flaming liberals. And
Right.
I know we're trying to avoid politics here, but in terms
Doesn't
of
matter.
paganism and respect for the individual rights and getting past the barriers of race and sexism and class and sexual orientation,
Mhm.
that's where both my paganism and my art is very much evident. And
Mm.
Mm.
dance is also very empowering for women, being able to move your body, feel comfortable in your body. We are raised with so much crap about what women are supposed to look like.
I know,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And with
Mhm.
dance, celebrating the beauty of everyone, that everyone can move. And we've also had this thing with arts where it's like only for certain people who have X amount of skill or what is considered pretty by social standards. And that's something when I do my
Mm.
chant workshops, because I do a lot of chanting with my circles and getting people to chant, and not necessarily having a pretty voice, but a voice that expresses where you are, where I
Mhm.
don't have people. I know when I have taken voice lessons in the past and somebody's on the piano going, hit this note. And it's like,
Really?
duh, if I knew how to hit the note, I wouldn't be taking voice lessons.
Right.
But
Yeah, yeah.
starting with where your voice is
Yeah.
and using that to make sound. And that's very empowering for people. In the goddess group, I've had them dancing with candles, I've had them dancing with knives, I've had them dancing with swords. So being able to work with the elements in a very physical way, because there's chants for the elements, different styles of movements with honoring the elements. And that's where most of pagan tradition honor the elements in some way: traditional
Yes.
air, fire, water,
Yeah.
earth. Some may, and I know the Chinese system also will bring in metal and wood instead,
Mhm.
and some systems will be a little different, but usually working with the directions, and some elemental forms are common to most. I will never say all, because then somebody's like, well, this one doesn't, and they're right.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
I'm right now, I am really looking for unifying elements among different groups, because there are some, especially with like there's like, I can think of three forms of druidry now, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Uh-huh.
fine, let's try to find our common ground, because there's enough people that want to destroy all of us.
Right,
Truth.
right.
That is something that I am driving into right now, which is the question of community. You're speaking about
Hmm.
unifying and bringing people
Hmm.
together. So, what is it about, community in you, the work that you'd like to see done in community, or the work that you're doing in community at this point?
Hmm.
Oh, and just so you know, we don't care if you mention politics.
Right.
Okay,
It's
yeah, I
fine.
know
It's
Yeah,
some
totally fine.
places
yeah.
we
We
have to
Yeah.
don't
be a
care
little
about
more
that, and how
cautious.
you can express yourself
Yeah.
pretty much wholly.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Okay.
know that there's a lot of I don't want it to become a dividing point, but
Yeah.
that was one thing with Pagan Fest, is just letting people know what's going on. And that's the other thing, and I'm sure Star, you've noticed it in New York as well, because when I first started getting involved, everybody wanted to be part of a coven or a circle or some kind of group. And now there's so many people who are solitaries, and they've
Mhm.
never experienced the power of a group ritual.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
True.
And it's, yeah, they're able to pick and choose, but sometimes working with people and just being exposed to other styles of how we can have a pagan circle. And I know when I've
Mhm.
done different goddess circles, and someone's like, oh, I didn't know about that one.
Mhm.
Or I didn't know you could do something like that. Or they're drawn to different things. And if they don't experience things with other people, they get caught in the limitations of their own interests or resources.
Right. Right.
Very true.
And I know the internet has a lot of stuff around, it also has a lot of crap.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry.
So,
I don't look at the internet much, just Facebook or any of those things, because I'm sorry. A lot of it, 99.9% of it is absolutely crap
mhm.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
disinformation. So,
You have to
Yeah, I
use
mean, there is
discernment, and
some
it's
good stuff, and the advantage is that it can connect people, like
mhm.
being able to do things like this. Or I've been part of other circles with my New York or my Las Vegas people, or
Mhm.
people in different parts of the world. But sometimes when people get into their, oh, I'm just solitary, I don't want to be involved with anybody else, or they want to do
yeah.
their own thing, and let's just say sometimes their choices are not wise.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't want to be
Right.
It's
it's I don't want to be commenting on people, but as, yeah, I hate to use the term elder, but I
mhm.
think I can call myself an elder
Well,
by
no,
now.
that's a reasonable call out also, and that's part of the
Mhm.
discussions we've had here on the show before is the
Mhm.
the ability of elders within the community to harness that wisdom, that knowledge, that experience, and
Mhm.
hand that off, be in community and be able to share that
And
with those coming up.
and
Children.
some of them don't want it, and
Some
okay,
That's
do.
fine,
that's
whatever.
yep.
But
But
it's,
it's a good thing to be able to do that, And
yeah.
Yes.
also, when we just did Samhain that was the first time since the pandemic that we were able to gather as a group.
Yeah.
And everybody that was there after ritual said it felt so good coming
Mhm.
together for the first time and all of that,
Yeah.
Sure.
because they missed that, and
Mhm.
they a lot of them was solitary before, but they just
Mhm.
thought it was so nice gathering together and doing ritual.
Yeah.
And I think that
It's a big
we're not
difference.
saying every time, but try to do some of it where you
But
can do
yeah,
Yes.
things.
having that experience,
Yeah,
and people have been, there's a power in group ritual that you are just not going to get by yourself.
Absolutely.
And well, it's like going back to the idea of the mystery. And I know the coven system, and I've been initiated, so I know that part of it.
Hmm.
And it's that sense of mystery, not that it's a secret or something or a magic word people misunderstand or they think it's like some piece of information. No,
Hmm.
it's an experience, because there are certain things that you are not going to know unless you're there.
Yes.
And we've, especially here, I've been lucky enough to be able to do, we have an big outdoor space where we can do Beltane and Samhain, have a
Mm,
bonfire, make noise, and be
beautiful.
out there really in a big way.
right,
And it's
right.
wonderful, and everybody's like, wow, this is great, and it's not something you're going to get by yourself.
That
Oh,
is
that
absolutely
sounds
true.
But
good.
when
Yeah,
you get
Well
people
said.
moving, say whether it's a spiral dance or
Hmm.
in a
yeah,
meditation, and they have that shared experience.
yes,
Yes.
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 So,
So true.
what would you like to see us as witches or pagans or Wiccans, whatever it is? What would you like to see us accomplish?
I would like pagans to be less flaky.
Mm,
I mean, you know damn well what PST is, this pagan standard time,
yes.
or this, show up when they feel like it. And
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
they
know
don't
in
do
New York, when we had rented space, we would lock the doors because we couldn't stay later. We
that.
had,
Yeah.
there were times we just didn't have anything available except, most apartments, you can't have a bunch of people over. So
Yeah.
we're in some kind of, dance studio or something, and we have to be out at a certain time. Everybody needs to be there at a certain time.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I think I would like a little bit more regular commitment from people to serious study,
yeah,
because
Yeah.
we've done some classes, and the thing that has gotten the most regular attendance is a potluck. And it's
mm,
great. I love it. Just no agenda, just bring food, eat, show up.
Yes.
But it would be nice if there were more people interested in serious study, because when Joe and I used to do our classes at Enchantments, we
Yeah.
had fairly intense 3-hour classes that were every week from like March to October,
mm,
and people showed up.
right.
And it's
Yes.
very hard now to get people to commit to even a monthly thing. And I know schedules are crazy now, but it bothered. Oh, I forgot. And it's like, now you have, like, you can put reminders in your phone and stuff. And I can remember the days when you'd
Yes.
be script, you'd see the bulletin board at Enchantments or whatever, and you'd be writing down the information because that was
Yeah,
the only way you would know.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
And now
Yeah.
there's, like,
Yeah. There was some work.
Facebook events and calendars and all this stuff, and people don't bother.
yeah, yeah,
But that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure, Star,
No,
you've
that's a
had it
good
with
call out.
yeah,
some of
yeah,
your groups
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
And
But this
and
is why I kind of love, in a way, the Zoom effect that we can
Mhm.
do. So if they come, and that way you're not paying all these expenses out, which has gone up
Mhm.
to
Oh
all
yeah.
the studios and all the different things. So the
Mhm.
majority of time now, other than the Sabbats, we
Mhm.
stick to doing it on Zoom. So if people don't come, it's, I mean, you feel it, you would love to have more
Mhm.
people, but if more, some people come, you're fine with it, because you're like, okay,
Yeah.
but that whole timing of things
Mhm.
used to bother me a lot, honestly, when it,
Mhm.
pre-pandemic.
Mhm.
Since then, it's not been much of
Mhm.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
it's
think
still
the
not the
biggest thing for
same.
me is making certain that people have that commitment, and I think I'm
Mhm.
hearing some of that coming from you. That I
Yeah.
I teach, and my primary focus is divination and tarot. So my classes are recorded, they are virtual, but that's only because of pandemic times.
Mhm.
Prior to that, they were in person
Mhm.
in a physical space, and you
so
Mhm.
was
had to
mine.
show
Yep,
up. There was,
yep,
if you missed
yep,
a
Yeah.
class, if you missed a week,
Mhm.
you were now behind. So
Mhm.
there is a commitment you have to
yeah,
make, and I think
yeah,
that is absolute. And I have a personal thing about this as well. Practitioners need to do the work in
Right.
order to practice. They have to
Right. Right.
practice to do the work. And that
Mhm.
means you have to be there and showing up and taking that initiative, making a
Mhm.
commitment.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
this is
But
something you want to
also,
do, you need to commit to it.
yeah.
Mhm.
Also, financially, when you book a studio and you're paying for all these things,
Yes.
if people are
Yeah.
committing to it, this is how you pay for the space that
Mhm.
we're all meeting in.
Mhm.
Yes.
So that lack of
Exactly.
Yeah.
commitment throws you off, and
Mhm.
you find yourself in the loss sometimes, having to come out of pocket to
Oh,
cover
yeah.
Yes.
everyone being there. So it ends up sometimes not being worth it for you to even be renting the studios.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
No.
a big
Truth.
commitment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's this thing of, this kind of I do what I feel, I do what I want thing. Is great to some extent, but for learning, you have to
Mm.
make a commitment to something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was something when, like, part of the coven training was everybody had to learn the runes. And there were some
Mhm.
people that were like, I don't wanna. That's Norse. I don't like Norse. I'm Egyptian or what. Everybody who stayed with it, I'm glad you made me do that. And
Yeah.
that's where the teacher or the elder or the priest or priestess or whoever can kind of hold you accountable. And I think that's the
Yes.
other accountability,
Yeah.
Yes.
because you have to have some study, and some of it's going to be boring, and sometimes you're
Yes.
not going to feel like doing your practice. Yeah, because we're all like that. There are days
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it either.
But then when you
But
have exposure to other disciplines, it
it's a
helps you
discipline.
understand those disciplines that you really do
Yeah.
love
You're
even
not
more.
going to
You can find the
increase,
connections.
yeah, your
Right.
skill and your knowledge without commitment. And sometimes the work is boring.
Right.
Sometimes you have to
Yeah.
memorize stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's practical stuff you have to do that is,
Yes.
ugh, but you do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
where a lot of people, I don't feel like doing this today.
Yeah. Well,
And accountability and flakiness, lack of accountability and flakiness are probably my pet peeves.
Okay.
excellent. Well,
Okay.
tell us about some projects that you have coming up or are thinking about doing.
Hmm. Well, we are going to be doing Pagan Fest again next year, which is, if
Excellent.
anybody's in the Augusta, Georgia area, yeah, it's Augusta, Georgia, not Augusta, Maine.
Okay.
That
Yes.
will be September 28th. We will be doing our winter solstice here on December 17th. We usually, the space we get with the church is Sunday nights.
Okay.
And we found weekends are better for people. Saturday night tends to be party night. So we do a lot of our stuff on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's both in person and on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I much prefer, like, there is one space that we do Beltane and Salmon, which we're doing next year. It's an outdoor medieval village that, we can't really
Nice.
Zoom there, but it's
Yeah.
such a great setting. I tell everybody it's worth the drive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds
Mm-hmm.
nice. That it's in
It
a
is.
medieval setting and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Okay.
have a
So what about you did mention Pagan Fest, right? So I was thinking of what
Pagan
events
Fest
you're
is
doing
probably
when you
the
have
next
Pagan Fest.
big one. And so,
Okay, sounds great. And I'm glad you gave the date to everyone, September
mhm.
28th, I think you said. And okay, Rhonda.
Well, I want to thank you for
Yeah.
making the time to join us tonight. Are there places that people should look? Is it a Facebook or Instagram or any place?
Basically, Jezibell Anat on Facebook is
Excellent.
best. Message me or contact me or Joe. And I also have a dance page, is Jezebelly Dance by Jezibell Anat. I occasionally do
Oh.
pagan themed belly dance. Most recently, Medusa. So I'm working on more of
Oh.
those, and some pagan themed poetry that will be popping up locally. And at some point, I have a YouTube channel as well. Just look for Jezebell Anat on YouTube, and some of the
Excellent.
dances. Some of it's regular belly dance. Some of them are pagan themed, or some of them are pagan themed if you know what to look for.
Perfect.
All right. So
Thank you so
so
much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank
It's
you
been
for
a
having
pleasure.
me.
Yes, thank you. All right. Well, we're going to bid you adieu, but
Thank
first, a
you.
word from our sponsors.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
right. So, astrology time. And over the past few weeks,
Yes.
we've taken a deep look at the decan structure within each zodiac sign. As a quick refresher in astrology, decans refer to the subdivisions within each zodiac sign broken up by degrees. On the zodiac wheel, there are 360 degrees that represent the sky, which is then divided into 12 sections, each governed by one of the 12 zodiac signs. You're probably all familiar with it. Each zodiac sign takes up 30 degrees of the zodiac wheel, with the first decan situated within the first 0 to 10 degrees, the second stretches over 11 to 20 degrees, and the third encompasses 21 to 30 degrees, respectively. Because each zodiac sign accounts for only 28 days, these decans will be approximates of those dates, depending on the shifting degrees. In order to locate which decan your sign falls under, you'll want to start with your birthday. The first 10 days of your sign is the first decan. Approximately the second to 10 days of your sign is the second decan. And then approximately the third 10 days is the third decan. Generally, that's how it works. Your decan will depend on when you were born during your zodiac sign's solar season. All right.
Yes. So that is breaking us, giving us a little refresher on the work that we have been doing with the decans. Now we want to look at the modalities of the 12 signs. And of course, we're going to link this back to these decans in our coming weeks. So, as we look at the modalities of the 12 signs of the zodiac fall into three modalities. First, let's define what modalities are. Modalities refer to the basic nature or modus operandi of the sign. Basically, it refers to the qualities of each of the signs. So each of the 12 signs will fall into one of three modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. The modalities of the zodiac symbolize three universal life conditions. There's the creation or initiation, those are the cardinal signs, the preservation or holding the center, and those are the fixed signs. And then you have transformation or finishing and preparing for change, and those are the mutable signs. Some general qualities, and we're going to start with the cardinal. So, some general qualities of cardinal signs are these are the ideas people. They're the initiators. They're the ones who are first at things. They tend to be leaders and are determined. They're also emotionally intelligent and social. Cardinal signs kick off every season with Aries starting at spring, at the spring equinox, Cancer starting at summer, at the solstice, Libra starting fall, at that fall equinox, and Capricorn winter at the solstice, the winter solstice. So, again, the cardinal signs kick off each season. And remember, cardinal signs are the initiators, and that makes sense. Cardinal signs' leadership qualities include having a passionate fierceness, competitive edge, and control over their external environment. They're known to value order, although this tendency manifests differently based on the influence of their associated astrological element. And remember, we have those four elements: air, earth, fire, and water. So, looking at the cardinal signs, the first of them, Aries. Aries season is not only the beginning of spring, it's the beginning of the entire astrological calendar year, making these folks true trailblazers. Aries also embodies cardinal fire. And as such, they're the ones who break ground on new ideas. They're also the ones to get everyone into action, like a team captain or five-star general, with their planetary ruler Mars as the planet of desire, action, war, and heat. It's no wonder Aries are always on the move. Next is Cancer. When it comes to holding down the fort, you can think of Cancer. This sign embodies mama bear energy, and they often lead the way with creating the emotional environment in a home or organization. Cancer is cardinal water. which makes Cancers themselves more emotional and highly intuitive. Their ruling planet is also the moon, offering them a particularly sensitive side and a desire for comfort. Next, Libra. Want to know what's on trend? Look to Libra, as these fabulous signs are the true trendsetters of the zodiac. They're the aesthetic fashionista and tastemaster who set standards in beauty and social environments. They're ruled by Venus, the planet of love, relationships, and pleasure. These folks love love and want everything to be beautiful, like all the time. They're they're cardinal air, so they're also often sociable, flirtatious, and a bit indecisive. Finally, the last of the cardinal signs is Capricorn. Last but not least, if you've ever met a Cap, it may come as no surprise that they are often described as the business mavens and CEOs who push the team towards success and keep the bar raised high. Capricorn is cardinal earth, giving them a somewhat solemn demeanor and tendency to take themselves seriously. This is true. They are ruled by Saturn, which is all about responsibility and hard work. Again, no surprise there. They may be a bit intense to work with, but they'll always do a good job, and they'll always do a good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to the fixed signs. Some general qualities of fixed signs are they are consistent, loyal, devoted, reliable, and patient natures. And those fixed signs are the doers of the zodiac. The fixed signs mid-season placements makes them the workhorses of the zodiac. So let's begin with the Taurus. Taurus represents fixed earth, and they have a reputation for being stubborn because it's a very rooted sign. Think of them as being fixed in place, they add. They also know they are also known for being quite tenacious, with an ability to buckle down on anything with determination. These folks like structure, routine, and stability, thanks to their fixed nature, and because they're ruled by Venus, the planet of love and pleasure, they also they're also all about the luxuries of life, from food to clothing to a cozy home environment. Next, we have Leo. Leo is a fixed sign, is fixed in fire, which the which is noted that is somewhat of an interesting, almost opposing combination. Leos are famous for being the stars of the show, craving adventure and space to roam. However, when they get back home, they can really settle in. They like to be with their families. So they're traditional but active and adventurous at the same time. On top
Hmm.
of that, Leos are represented by the lion, which gives them courage and strength to tackle anything and everything. As a fire sign, they tend to have a dynamic and charismatic personality that lends itself to their fixed nature. Their personality shines through in whatever it is they're working on.
Mhm.
Next in line is Scorpio, as they are fixed in water. Scorpio can deal with a lot of issues surrounding emotions. Of course, it's not a bad thing to be emotional, but because of their fixed quality, their emotions can often become fixed or stuck in the body, unreleased, and causing underlying tension.
Mhm.
This can show up in the form of jealousy or overwhelming emotions. However, these folks are also these folks are also known for being determined, courageous, courageous and loyal, as well as ambitious. Again, these traits tie back to their mid season position as they are always willing to help see a task through to its bitter end. Now, next we have Aquarius. And last but not least, Aquarius is fixed air. So Aquarians can be very free spirited, but they also have a type A side that comes from the fixity of their chart. They are both nomadic and rooted. They add noting that camp campervans
Camper van,
are an
yes.
apt symbol of Aquarian energy. They almost want to establish a sense of residency wherever they are.
Mm,
Aquarians also like to run the show in the sense that they have no problem being in charge and often make excellent leaders. They're independent and have a visionary quality to them, as the second to last sign in the astrological year, offering plenty of wisdom as well.
mm, mhm. Finally, our four mutable signs. Mutable signs come at the end of each season. So Gemini marks the end of spring, Virgo marks the end of summer, Sagittarius for fall, and Pisces at the end of winter. Some general qualities of mutable signs are adaptable, they're good with change, and function almost like the editors of the zodiac. They're solution oriented and spontaneous, but can be a little flaky and non committal. Kind of. Anyway, our four mutable signs are Gemini. That's the first one, Gemini. Each of the three classifications of cardinal, fixed, and mutable include one sign of each element. So, again, in the case of Gemini, this is mutable air. Their mutability shows up in conversation and their way of thinking. Indeed, Geminis have a knack for chatting and are known to be witty and humorous. This dynamic communication style makes Geminis excellent journalists, provocative writers, thought leaders, and wordsmiths. Next, we have Virgo. Virgo is mutable earth. So they bring their adaptability and refining skills to planning and organization. Think spreadsheet central. And that is so true. I know too many Virgos who are like that. Virgos also make great coaches as they're especially good at helping people create structures that help them sustain good habits. Earth energy comprises the pillars of our lives, and Virgos are always happy to improve upon those pillars. Next, we have Sagittarius, the fire of the mutable signs. Sagittarius is all about action and particularly getting other people to take action. Of all the mutable signs, Sag is the best when it comes to activating and moving a project along, especially one that's stuck. While it's not quite the same leadership quality we see in cardinal signs, Sag definitely has a go getter spirit and helps them keep things moving. Finally, we have Pisces. So if Sagittarius is good at getting projects unstuck, Pisces, which is mutable water, can get people's emotions unstuck, sometimes at their own detriment, because they can walk into a situation as an empath and suddenly trigger all those dormant feelings in people. Nevertheless, they're often healers because they really know how to work with the energy of difficult, charged emotions that can come up in relationships or a group setting.
This is true.
So, yeah,
This is
yes,
true. Yeah.
definitely. So definitely check out the Astro Twins for more information on the modalities and of the 12 signs. But next week, we're going to look at how these three modalities are broken down within the three decans of each astrological sign.
Yay, that sounds
And that will
great.
be our
Yeah,
look for
yeah.
next week. Yes.
And don't forget to also check out Dark Astrology, darkstarastrology.com for further decan insights for some of you who were asking me during the week about more further information about the decans. Don't forget to check it out there.
Yes. Now let's do some card pulling.
All right, we are back. Okay, so Rhonda, I'm going to have you tell us what to pull the tarot card for.
So this week, and because we're talking the energy of the modalities, and those three modalities, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, I'm just going to ask that everybody who is working with a card pull a card that is literally speaking to them for this week. So it's a really personal draw. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm fixed water. I'm that fixed water. So I'm drawing a card for my fixed water sign. So all of the fixed signs that we're speaking about today, all of our fixed signs, this card is going to be related for you. And Star, what are you? What's your
Aries. I'm
astrological sign?
Aries.
Aries. So you're fire. You're cardinal fire. You're the start of everything. So I'm just going to say cardinal energy. You're
Okay.
pulling that cardinal fire. Well, you're pulling that cardinal energy. Let's go ahead and start there.
Okay.
I'll pull for fixed. You pull for cardinal.
Okay. Okay. So what have you got, my dear?
Oh my goodness. The Empress. That is
Okay.
That is wild. And the reason I say that, because again, I like to look at the modalities as, and this is an easy way to look at them also, as as a three-way relay race. Where you have somebody who's at the starting gate, that would be the cardinal signs. The ones who hold the center, who you hand the baton off to, that one in the center of the race. They're the fixed signs, they hold the center, and then the mutable signs are the one at the end of the race. They wrap it up. They're the ones who cross the finish line. Well, since I'm reading for fixed energy, I'm talking about the ones who hold the center, the ones who are the determined, going to make it happen, never say die, never get up, give up. They're in it. That's the energy also of the Empress, because everything, the world itself sits here. It's all created from this energy. Everything that comes into the world comes through, in this instance, that very overused phrase, perhaps. Everything comes through the mother. And that's the energy of the Empress. It's the notion that if you're going to create and build something, you have to be able to also then sustain that life. And she is the fertile ground on which everything rests. So I'm seeing this and saying, yes, fixed energy signs, remind yourself that you are indeed the ground on which everything else can sustain itself. You hold the center. You keep it from falling through.
All right. And as you said, I am the cardinal fire, right? Okay. So
Yes.
I have the 10 of wands. But if you look at the cloak, it's all red. It's all and yet at the same time, it it's an interesting thing. I feel as if like he has got his back to me, basically, and he has all of the wands on his shoulders, he or she on his shoulders, and he's carrying everything. Like he's forging forward. It feels as if they're leading the way to many ideas and thoughts and all the different things, and they move forward without thought in a way, or almost like if they're being guided by something, this is what is meant to be, this is what you're supposed to do, so let's get doing it. And
Mhm.
they're quick decisions, like not quick
Mhm.
decisions, what's the word, um when placed in situations, they're quick to decide what's next or whatever it is, and it's almost like they're saying it with an absolute, as if they know.
Mhm.
um
Mhm. Mhm.
uh and that's the way it feels, as if it feels as the way he looks is as if everybody else is behind him coming up, and they all following because somehow they know that person is going to surely take
Absolutely.
them to where they need to go. And the
Yeah, the
decision that they're
leadership.
making is for the collective, and they're sure about it. I don't know why, but they sure.
Can you show your card again? I love this deck. Well, let me just see this card. Wow.
Do you see what I mean?
Love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
And
he's
it's
just,
fire because it's
yes,
wands.
yes,
That's fabulous. 10 of wands. That's fabulous. That is fabulous. That is awesome.
yeah,
So, yeah, I hope that everybody has an opportunity to work with some cards. And again, if you just think of the modalities as that cardinal, the starters, the fixed cardinal is the starter, the fixed is the one that holds the center, and mutable is the one that wraps it up and is preparing for change. Therein lies the juju of those modalities. So, in any case, now we get to introduce our guest for next week.
yes,
This is
yes,
going to be
yes.
for November
Means
17th.
yes. So on Friday, November 17th, we will be welcoming our guest, Mawia Kai El Jama Bomani. I am bastardizing this person's name. I am so sorry. I am
It's
really
all
bad at
good.
it, but I'm going to say it again. Mawiya Kai El Jama Bomani.
Omani.
Much better.
Perfect. Perfect. Love. Absolutely love it.
Okay. But I love
Awesome.
her and I love her spirit. And I can't wait for you to
Yes.
come. And she's going to be coming up next week. So,
It is
yeah,
fabulous.
yeah. We want to thank
We will.
Jezibell Anat for being with us tonight and for
Yes.
bringing us all of her many thoughts and ideas. And we
Yes.
want to thank her very much for being with us. And don't forget to subscribe.
Like
Go ahead.
and like and share, share and share.
Yes. Yes. And keep coming back. And also, if you have any things that you ideas that you want us to speak on, or a guest that you would like to have us have at some point, please let us know. We welcome all of the
Yep.
ideas and thoughts from everyone. All right. So thank you all very much.
Absolutely. Have a great
Great
week,
week.
everyone. We will see you next
We
week.